If an asteroid hits the moon in 2032, Earth won't shake. Most people won't even notice. But space will. Right now, thousands of satellites are circling above you. They guide planes, sync banks, power GPS, track storms, carry your messages. They work because space is predictable. A moon impact changes that. It wouldn't threaten life on Earth. It would threaten the machines we quietly depend on every day. So the real question isn't what happens to the moon, it's this. What's orbiting above you right now, and how exposed is it? This isn't a rumor or a sci-fi pitch. Astronomers at NASA and the European Space Agency are tracking a real asteroid right now. Its orbit passes through the Earth-Moon system, and for a short window in 2032, the calculations allow something rare, a direct impact with the moon. Right now, scientists put the odds at around 3%, and that number may fall to 0 as observations improve. That's normal. Orbital predictions tighten with time. But the possibility exists strongly enough that scientists are modeling outcomes, not writing headlines. Because in space science, unlikely is still worth preparing for. Picture this, December 22nd, 2032. A rock about the height of a 15-story building comes in fast and slams into the moon like a cosmic bullet. There's no atmosphere to slow it down. No clouds, no warning sirens, just impact. For a few minutes, the moon could literally flash, bright enough under the right conditions that people on the night side of Earth could see it with their own eyes. Then comes the part most people never imagine. The blast doesn't just punch a hole, it throws a plume of lunar rock and dust thousands of kilometers into space, like a shotgun blast in slow motion. Some of that debris falls back to the moon. But if the geometry is right, some of it doesn't. And that's when this stops being a moon story and becomes a satellite story. When the moon is hit, gravity doesn't clean up the mess. Lunar gravity is weak, about 1/6 Earth's. That means some of the blasted rock doesn't fall back down. Not fast, not dramatically, just enough to drift into the space between the moon and Earth. These aren't movie-sized boulders. Most are pebble-sized fragments, dust, shards. But in orbit, size doesn't matter the way speed does. At orbital velocity, even a piece of gravel can punch through metal. And this debris wouldn't spread out instantly. It would follow specific paths depending on impact angle, speed, and timing. Paths that could cross something very familiar. The orbits our satellites travel every day. Satellites aren't scattered randomly. They move along tight, crowded lanes. Low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit. Precise paths timed to the second. Now imagine debris entering those lanes, not at all once, not everywhere, but enough to raise collision risk where timing matters most. Weather satellites, navigation systems, communications relays. These systems aren't armored, they're built light, thin, efficient, because until now, space has mostly been empty. A fragment traveling faster than a rifle bullet doesn't need to be large, it only needs to be unlucky. One hit is damage, but one hit can also create more debris, and that's where engineers start to worry about cascades. In orbit, damage doesn't stay isolated. When a satellite is struck, it doesn't just fail, it fragments. Each fragment becomes a new projectile, moving at orbital speed, crossing paths with other satellites. That's how space debris multiplies, not in explosions, in slow, compounding collisions. Engineers call this a cascade, one event triggering another. Not a blackout overnight, a gradual loss of reliability. Signals drop, orbits shift, Some satellites are forced to shut down early. Others become hazards themselves. It's not the end of space operations. It's the kind of problem that takes years, sometimes decades, to clean up. This wouldn't come out of nowhere. Space agencies actively track tens of thousands of objects in orbit and estimate more than 1 million smaller fragments that are too small to monitor individually. If a moon impact happened, the first thing scientists would watch isn't Earth, it's the cloud. How fast it spreads, which directions it favors, which orbits it intersects. Satellites wouldn't be blind targets. Operators could move some out of the way, power others down, delay launches. You can't move everything, and you can't move fast in space. Avoidance buys time, it doesn't erase risk. Because debris doesn't need to be everywhere, it only needs to be in the wrong place once. Here's the uncomfortable part. Humanity already knows how to nudge an asteroid. We've tested it, we've proven it can work. But those missions were about protecting Earth, so this raises a different question. If an asteroid is more likely to hit the moon than us, do we intervene anyway? Do we spend billions to protect satellites, navigation systems, infrastructure we depend on but rarely think about? Or do we accept the risk, collect the data, and deal with the fallout afterwards? There's no automatic answer, because stopping an asteroid isn't just a technical decision, it's a political one. The moon has always felt distant, decorative, untouchable, but space isn't empty anymore. It's crowded with technology we quietly depend on every day, and that technology lives in a fragile balance of timing, distance, and physics. An asteroid hitting the moon wouldn't be a disaster movie moment. It would be something subtler, a reminder that our modern world doesn't just sit on Earth, it floats above it. So if an asteroid hits the moon in 2032, Earth will still be here, life will go on, but some of the systems we rely on might not. Because when something hits the moon, it doesn't shake the ground beneath your feet, it tests everything we've placed above your head. If you want the follow-up breakdown on what a real debris cloud could do to modern orbits, subscribe and I'll cover it next. Thanks for watching. See you next time.